Okay, we're learning Le'ilu Nishmas, we're learning for Shalema, for Yehonis and David ben Devoy Rachel, and Hadassah Bela Bas from it Rachel. It's a bit of a mazel tov, as Kenny reminds me. September 8th, 1993 is when the daf began. So it's 30, it's not even 30, I think it's 33 years. I think it's 33 because it was the Hebrew thing. 30, it should be 32 years. I think we're beginning our 33rd year. Right, we're beginning our 33rd year. So it's amazing. We have three of the original members. Kenny, you a little bit later, right? A couple of weeks, right? Months? I can't hear you, Kenny. So Kenny joined a little bit later, but Harold and Ari and Benji and Dr. Ben was one of the original members, but Dr. Ben dropped out 5 years ago, so he's no longer here. You know, he's no longer with us.
I came 5 Masechtas late, getting Kedushim Bava Kava with Ziva Basra.
You're also in the first cycle, right? You caught up in the first cycle. Okay, great.
A lot younger, a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Human.
And 100,000 Snapples later. So, the chocolate marshmallows, Harry, right? It was the guy was Harry was the jelly rings. He had some type of concession of a wholesale of candy. So we always had we had a tremendous amount of sugar, and as a result, all of us are. Anyways, right. So we're up to
you forgot the air conditioner. One air conditioner.
Oh yes, and the president of shul showed up one day. It was hot. All it took was he never made it beyond one day, but we got an air conditioner out of it. That's right.
Zoller, yep.
Huh?
I think you can see him with a half a block.
Zachar Latayv.
Yeah, Benji's what? He thought you could make a seam on a half a block Gemara. Anyway, so yeah. So beginning the new parak of Vav on the base. We saw yesterday. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Baruch. That would have been awful. Okay, anyway. So let's see if I can do this. Okay, share. So we've been familiar with this pasuk. Actually, not this, yeah, not familiar with this pasuk at all. We're familiar with. Okay, let's get rid of this pasuk. Okay. In my koyin Mashiach yechtel ash b'sam. So we saw a pasuk regarding par helam davar shel tzibur where Bezdin blows the psak. The parsha before, and this is in Perik Vayikra Dalid, is in my koyin hamashiach yechtel ash b'sam. If the kohen that's anointed, he sins la'ash masa'am, and we'll see what that means. V'hikav al chatasai asher chata par ben baka tamim Hashem. He brings the par. So these parim are unique, and this masechta does not deal with the nitty gritty of how they're actually brought. It deals when they're brought. In other words, when there is the chiyuv. So we finished with par halam davish al tzibur, but we didn't discuss the fact that it's chatas panemius, that it's spritz in front of the proikis and the zav and burnt. But we went through the halachas exactly when you bring it. So we said it has to be that first there was helam davar, they passed in b'shoigeg, there was helam davar, and then the act was b'shoigeg, right? And that was and then they brought the par, and it had to be roiv or again was one par, was it 7, was it 12? Again, we had the 3 shittas between Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yehuda. Anyway, today we're describing and going through the parsha before, and this is the parsha before. So the parsha before was so we're dealing with the kohen gadol, and the kohen gadol is not going to bring the same carbon. He's not going to bring the same carbon as a regular Joe. What does that mean? A regular Joe, if he does a chet, he brings a female, a sira or a kispa. Right? We said the am Bezdin brings a par. The kohen brings the par. The kohen brings the par. but it has to be in the Hechatimsa of the Helam Davar Shel Tzibor. In other words, if the Kohen would just do an Avera, he'd be a regular Joe. This, what we're describing over here, is where the Kohen paskined, and he acted upon his psak, just like Bezdin paskin, and we Klal Yisrael acted upon the psak. That's the Hechatimsa you're going to bring the par.
As a public figure, not as a part.
No. He paskin. It was a Moirera, Yoru Mishpatech Yaakov, the Kahanim. So he gave psak. He gave psak for himself. And then he acted upon it. So if he was a classic shogeg, he thinks he's eating shumin, he eats chaylev, he thinks he's eating cherry soda, and it turns out to be dam, then he's going to bring a seer like everybody else. When do you bring the par? Is when it's in the same way that the Sanhedrin acts, and they bring the par. And that's the discussion of our Mishnah. Right? If the Kohen went ahead and he paskin for himself, right? Shoygeg v'asa shoygeg. He was in the shoygeg. The psak was a shoygeg in the act of shoygeg. Maybe par. That's when he brings the par. Just like the tzibor, it's shoygeg. So too the Kohen. Shoygeg v'asa mezid. However, if he gives a psak shoygeg and he acts b'mezid, or mezid v'asa shoygeg is pata. Because again, once there's a shoygeg aspect, you're going to be pata. Now, it's very interesting because it says over here v'asa shoygeg is pata, fellas. You hear that? That's a special, unique din over here. If you look at Rashi on the left side, right before the Gemara, about 5 lines up, Aval koyin Mashiach ki hoyer mezid v'asa shoygeg loy dina ki yachid. He's not going to be like a yachid, because a yachid is going to bring a kispa v'seira, a kispa v'seira, upata legamri. He's going to be pata completely. The Achayamin and Perek Basra will see me ama aretz prat Mashiach the enemy maybe carbon b'shigas ma'asel. Guys, hear this. The koyin goes ahead, he paskins, but when he does it, he doesn't act b'mezid. So you say he's pata. Why? Mezid's pata. Let's say he paskin b'mezid, but he acted b'shoygeg. He'd also be pata. And that's a scenario where a regular Joe brings a kiss was seira, he's going to be what? So you have two unique dinim about the koyin. One, the karvi he brings with helam dava is going to bring a par, and a second din that if any shogeg aspect we pata completely. So shogeg v'asa mezid v'asa shogeg is pata. Shahayros koyin sheich la'atzmai karos bezn l'tziba. So this is going back on the first din that he's only chayiv shogeg atzmai, and he acts upon that, because just like bezdin, you need shogeg, meaning the hayros shogeg and the actions shogeg. So too the kohen, he needs the hayra b'shogeg, and that's guys good. You hear? Again, he's very unique. The kohen shogeg v'asa shogeg maybe par pshita. What's the case? What else? Of course, if that's not that, that's that. It's a mafurish pasuk in the Torah. I just went through the pasuk, right, guys? That's the pasuk in the Torah. Okay, so Abaya Hachamay Askinon Shahoira, he gave a psak. The shakach me ezetam hoira, and he doesn't remember why. So he's a shagging on the fact he doesn't remember. Ubeshosha ta'a Amar harini oisa al das harasai. I'm acting upon the hayra that I gave, whatever psak, and I forgot that psak. The Ma'udetayim Akivin the Ilum Misyadile, maybe it was known to him, Shema Hadebe, Kimei Zidami, and therefore he should be Pata, V'lei L'chayev, Kamashmalan. He gave a psak. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know what. And now he says, whatever I'm doing on my original psak. Okay, whatever. You might think if he knew the reason for his psak, if he knew the reason for it, right? Maybe he would not do it. And therefore, by doing it, let me consider it a mezid. It's not that he didn't know what he passed. He didn't know the reason behind it. Or else it doesn't make any sense. The Hechatim is the following. He gave a hayra, but he doesn't remember the reason behind it. Of course, he has to know what the hayra was. That makes no sense. Then how could he possibly go? That makes no sense. I repeated it. He knows what the hayra was. He doesn't know the reason behind it. So you might think if he would remember the reason, he wouldn't do it. And therefore, when he does it, it's mezid. Come on, that's the chiddush of the Mishnah. You good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, mezid v'asa shoygeg. right? We said Mezid v'as Shoigeg. So we said that why he brings the par, non merely the Tanur Rabbanon. And how do you know that he's like, guys? How do you know he's like the Helen Sibra of that you need Hayrush, you need Hayra, and then you need what? Then you need him acting upon it. How do you know that? So non merely the Tanur Rabbanon. It says la ashma sa'am. Okay, the pasuk I sent it out again. You don't have to watch it. I just sent it out simply. It says what? Im koina Mashiach yechta la ashma sa'am. If the koina Mashiach he sins la ashma sa'am, v'hikiv al chataso asher chata par ben baka tamim lashem lechatas. So that's what it says. So what does it mean? What does it mean la ashma sa'am? Hay Mashiach kitzibur. He's like ashma sa'am, like by the acts upon Bezdin. So to what? The Kohen Mashiach. That for the Ashma Sa'am. That's good? Just like the Ashma Sa'am is Parihel and Dava, and that's with the Hayra and a Shoigeg, so too this as well. Why do I need a pasuk la Ashma Sa'am? L'chara I can figure out from Memetzinu. Tzibor Moitzi Mechal Yachid. Now, if a Yachid doesn't have Eira, guys, what does he bring? Sheep. If the Tzibor doesn't have Eira, what do they bring? Par. So Tzibur might see Michal Yachid, Umashiach might see Michal Yachid, and the Kohen also is not like a Yachid. Yachid brings a sheep, female sheep, and he's bringing a par. So therefore, it would make sense without a pasuk to make a what? A comparison between the Kohen and the Tzibur. Mat Tzibur e mechayven el al helem davar im shigas ma'isa. Af Mashiach lo yechayv al helem davar im shigas ma'isa. So why do I need what? A pasuk. Why do I need a pasuk lashmas am? L'chara, just in comparison, the kohen could be either one thing, guys. He could either be the tzibur or he could be a yachid. You're saying it's a tzibur, it makes sense to be a tzibur. Why? Because his carbon is the same as a tzibur's carbon, as opposed to a yachid is a different carbon. So therefore, why don't you ask Mr. to tell me he's like the tzibur? What else is he going to be like? I can go another direction that he's not like the tzibur. Nasi might mechal yachid. Nasi is the king, guys. What does the king bring? Sire. King brings a male. It doesn't bring a female, it brings a male. Now, Umashiach Moitzi Michal Yachid. So both of them are unique, right? Because he's a par. Man Nasi Mevi B'Shigas Maisa, Beloy Helam Davar. You don't need Helam Davar by what? By the king. A regular Shigas Maisa will do the job. Af Meshivach maybe B'Shigas Maisa, Beloy Helam Davar. Good. So too, the king will bring Maisa. Okay, guys, good. Look at me.
Good enough. What's going on?
My head is the limud, right? my head is the limud, right? Here, so I can go. I'm the kohen. Here is the tzibur. Here is the nasi. If I go in this direction, because it's par, then I'm going to go ahead and be helam davar, just like the tzibur. If I go in this direction, of course, it's par nasi. Now, why would par nasi work? Because they're both different than the regular Joe. A yachid is what? A yachid is a seira, and this is a seir, and this is a par. So it's different. So I can go in that direction. So why do you opt to go in the direction of the par of the tzibur? I can go in the direction of the seir of the nasi. And what nafkamina, tremendous nafkamina. If I go like the tzibur, it's helam davar. If I go like the king, then it's shigas ma'isa. It's a simple action without any hayra. You be chayiv. Without any hayra, you be chayiv. That's what the Gemara wants to know. Okay. Nira lemi doime. Let's see what it's comparable to, right? Let's count. Nira lemi doime. Tziba bepar ve'mevi nashim taloi. The tziba is bepar, and there's no ashim taloi by a tziba. Guys, it says by I'm going to throw this out. We're going to learn a little later on. It says by ashim taloi v'chipar hakoyin al shigagosei asher shogag. Shigagosei mashma beloy helam davar. The shigagosei asher shogag's mashma without helam davar. He simply goes ahead and does an action. So just like a tzibah doesn't bring a par, ve'emevia asham taloi, u'mashiach b'par ve'emevia asham taloi. Amat tzibah nechayev elehem davar, at m'shigas ma'isa, af mashiach lechayev elehem davar m'shigas ma'isa. Okay, so now again, looking at me with guys with the same svara, and now I have like two ways to go to what, like the tzibur. One, it's a par. Two, beside the kohen and the tzibur, don't bring a asham taloi. Mashen came the nasi would. Oy klach l'derech zu. Nasi may be seira b'avodas kechavim umevi asham vadai. A nasi brings a seira. A nasi brings a seira by avodas kechavim. If he's over avodas zara, he brings a female. Umevi asham vadai, and he brings an asham vadai. Umeshiach maybe seira. A Mashiach doesn't bring a par, guys. By avoid, guys, a Mashiach brings a par only by every other aveir. By avodas zara, he's going to bring a seira. You hear? So that commonality would go ahead and put the kohen similar to the nasi, because they have the commonality of bringing a seira, a goat. Maybe Asham Vadi, and they bring an Asham Vadi. Ma nasi maybe b'shigas ma'isa, af Mashiach maybe b'shigas ma'isa. So in other words, using the system of Memetsinu, fellas, using the system of Memetsinu, I don't know which way to go. Therefore, Tamid Loima Lash Masa'am. Therefore, since I didn't know, I needed the pasuk to tell me I'm going to compare the Kohen Mashiach to what? To the tzibur, just like the tzibur. Ma hayu asham hayu Mashiach tzibur. Ma tzibur ina maybe elal helam dava im shigas ma'isa. Af Mashiach ina maybe elam helam dava im shigas ma'isa. Okay, so now, so the Ashma Sa'am came about, guys, as a result of this comparison to from Asham. That's not like an Asham, like the Seir, like the Nasi. Okay. Ema my tziba hoira v'asa achra b'hirasa chayavim. Af Mashiach kishahoira v'asa achra b'hirasa yehei chayav. So this is what Yankel wanted to say. If you can make the comparison to tzibur, when is the tzibur chayav a korban? After they act upon it. The Bezdin gave a psak, and they acted upon it. What happens if the kohen? The kohen's not. You're not acting upon the kohen. It's him. It's all him. So maybe if you can compare it to the tzibur, maybe when does the kohen bring a par? When somebody else acts upon his psak, similar to the tzibur. Just like the tzibur, when the tzibur they act upon it, so too this as well. Talmud Leimar, it says v'hikriv al chata soy asher chata. Right, so the pasuk says, right, it said the lashon of the pasuk is v'hikriv al chata soy. He'll be makriv on his chait asher chata that he did, but not on the chait that they did, not in the chait that they did. So we had a havamin of the Gemara, fellas. We had a havamin in the Gemara that maybe the kohen should be shigas ma'isa. Why? Because we can compare it to the nasi, and we concluded that through a memetzino we couldn't work it out because there were commonalities that equal between both of them. Talmud Loima lash masa'am. Okay, now maybe Amamar. Just going back over the brisa. A little fine tune. So we know at the end of the day, we need Ashma Sa'am to teach me that the Kohen is like the Ashma Sa'am. Like just when the Am sins, it's all you day what? The Tzibur based upon a Ra of Bezdin. So to the Kohen sinning is based upon his Ra. That's the Ashma Sa'am. Mashiach beparve maybe Ashim Talui. Now, you wanted to make the following comparison. You wanted to say that he's like the Tzibur. How's he like the Tzibur? A, they're both par. B, they both don't bring an Ashim Talui. Masha Ein Kena Nasi will. Minole de may be Ashim Talui. I told you this already. Dichsiv. The Chipur Lava Koyin al Shigagasa Sheshagag. Misha Chatasu Shkaga Shava. Yatsa Mashiach Sheim Shigagasa Vechata Shava. Right? It's what? When do you bring an Ashim Talui? When the Shagag, a person who Shagag is equal. What's that? That's Shigas Maisa, where you simply do an Aveira. Not when you need a psak before you do the Aveira. So in Mela, I know that the Kohen who needs a psak before he does an Aveira cannot be Ashim Tali. Now, Dichsiv l'Ash Masa'am. Now, Dichsiv l'Ash Masa'am. Harihu Mashiach Kitzibur l'Ash Masa'am. Now, if you look, fellas, it's kind of funny. If you look at number 5, count down 5 lines. 1, 2. I count. I did the lines over here. If you count down from the top of the page, we say that it's Tzibur and the Kohen are not similar. They are similar. Mat Tzibur is ein chayav melech dava ashgar Hashem, because they're both being a par and not a seya, the asira. So lo yechayev ela so he's only chayav on that. Now, ultimately, that's going to be la'ashmas ha'am. If you'll go down to line 10, count down 10 lines. Nira limi doime, tzibur v'par, ve'mevin Hashem tolei, u'meshiach v'par, ve'mevin Hashem tolei. So in other words, that the tzibur and the Mashiach, they both don't bring an Hashem tolei. They both don't bring an Hashem tolei, right? I thought I knew this. Okay. Let's see Rashi. Let's see Rashi if I can figure it out from Rashi. On the right side, la'ashmas al adkan loy kamarle klaimar mila ashmas ka'amar the nafkale the ein chatasei shugase shava that the shoygig is not equal. The Mashiach is ketzibar. For akati loy kamarle hekesh the la'ashmas we don't know it yet. The adayin loy humad la'ashmas bimkomo. Until now, fellas, what have we been doing, fellas? Until now, what we've been doing, we've been saying we don't need la'ashmas. We don't know it exists because we're trying to make a memetzinu back and forth, trying to figure out which one it's common to. Then you go ahead and you throw in la'ashmas, but we don't know it yet. As of yet, we didn't know it. So when we threw in ashmas by this din of asham, we didn't know it at that point in time. In other words, that information hasn't been established yet. We only established it when they were totally equal. We didn't establish it at this point in time. Good. So that's what the Gemara is saying. Let's finish Rashi. V'kati lekamale hekesh del ashmasam. The dayin le humad la'ashmasam b'mkomo. The hakamar afagav de'iluloy nemar la'ashmasam. Even though if it never said ashmasam, yichonli lilmod min adin. I could learn it out. The Mashiach is tzarech elam davar im shigas ma'isa b'tzibur. The kamar nira lemi daime. In other words, at this point in time, we asked, we don't need ashmasam. So we're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Then it says, They're similar because they both bring an Hashem Tali. Even if they didn't say ashmasam, they'd be similar. Okay, here's the kasha. Why is the kohen like a tzibur? They both don't bring an Hashem Tali. They both bring a par. Good. Okay. And you throw in, and you're saying over here, we don't know ashmasam at this point in time. We don't know it yet. So how can I go ahead and use it if I don't know it yet? Until it's established, I can't use it yet. So how can I go ahead and use it? So the Gemara wants to know. See in lessons of the Gemara one more time. It says, Amamar, Mashiach b'par ve'emevi asham tali. Mashiach is a par, asham tali, and therefore he's similar to a tzibur. Minale they may be asham tali. How do you know the kohen doesn't bring an asham tali, and the tzibur doesn't bring an asham tali? The chsiv, the chipul of a kohen al shigagase shagag. This is speaking about asham tali, and the shagig that he did. Misha chatasa b'shagag shava. His chait and his shagig is equal. That's ashma sa'am. That's shigas maisa. Yatsa Mashiach shein shigasa v'chaz shavam. Yatsa Mashiach shein shigasa. Now, how do you know that, guys? How do you know as of yet that the shoygeg of a tzibur, of the kohen is not like the tzibur? But we didn't know yet. I'm not being clear because I don't. Okay, I have it. We began the Gemara and said the following: the kohen is like the tzibur. The kohen is like the tzibur, right? How do I know that? Because we have a memetzinu, right? What's my memetzinu? I have more commonality with tzibur than I do with nasi. Okay, and now the Gemara says, what's my commonality that I have with the tzibur? That one, we bring a par, and two, we don't bring an Hashem Tali. How do you know you don't bring an Hashem Tali? It says because what? The shoygig has to be only shigigas maisa. Masha'en kain what? Masha'en kain the koyen that needs hayra. But you don't know that yet. That's the whole Gemara. You're trying to figure it out. One more time. What's the aim? Put the aim on the blackboard. The aim on the blackboard is that a kohen, in order to bring the par, needs to paskin before him. It's not enough shigas maisa just acting and making a mistake. You need shigas maisa. Okay. How are we figuring that out? We're going through a memetzino. Compare now. If he is like the tzibor, then you would need a hayra and not shigas maisa. Good. So now, what do you do? And this is you're learning it totally what from a memetzino. Now, where's your memetzino? What's the commonality, guys, between a par, the tzibor and the kohen? What's the commonality between the tzibor and the kohen? A, they both bring a par, and B, they're both pata by par helam dava. Good. Yes. They're both pata. That's not helam dava. Asham taloi. They're both pata by Asham taloi. Why are they pata by Asham taloi? Because in the parsha of Asham taloi it says yechayiv and Asham taloi by shigagas maisa. But a kohen is not chayiv for shigas maisa. The kohen is chayiv for what? For hayra and shigas maisa. How do you know that? It says Ashma Sa'am. Read the Gemara. At this point in time, you didn't know that. You're trying to. That's our quest. That's our quest in the first place. You didn't know it at this period in time. You didn't know it in this period of time. So it doesn't make any sense. I know I'm not getting this across. No. No. One more time. Okay, one more time. Guys, we're going to do it one more time. Okay, one more time. I'm trying to figure out second base. I have a way of figuring out second base. I can compare it to first base. I can compare it to third base. If I compare it to first base, the din's going to be like this. If I compare it to third base, the din's going to be like this. Good? Okay. We want number two to be like number one. What's the commonality between number two? And again, I don't know yet that two is like number one. I didn't figure that out yet, right? I'm trying to figure that out. Okay. How do I know two is like number one? Because there is a pasuk that says that you have to be a certain way. And neither two and one are that way. Good? How do you know two is not that way? You bring a pasuk. We don't know that pasuk yet. If number two is like the number one based upon a pasuk that I don't know yet, I don't have the ability to say two is like number one. That's what we just did. that made a little sense. Okay, that take away. It's very interesting in teaching. You take away words. You take away words and you just make it a simple thing. It's much easier cognitively to get it. So you know what the Gemara does? The Gemara says delete that. That commonality between Asham Toli and Par, delete it. It doesn't make that's what the Gemara says. Hari Mashiach Ketzibur Lashmasam says the Gemara Ad Kam Lekamale. We never knew Hashmasam yet, so therefore we don't know it's like the Tzibur. I have to say Asham Kedin Nisbe. It was just mentioned, but Einachinami. It's not part of the limud. Therefore, okay. Says the Mishnah. Hayra Bezdin. Right. Says the Mishnah. Hayra Bezdin. Hara bifnei atzmai, v'asa bifnei atzmai. Okay. So he paskined, Hira, the kohen paskined for himself, v'asa bifnei atzmai. Now it's very, very mischapale bifnei atzmai. It's very cryptic, guys. Very cryptic. The Masechta. Look at Rashi, guys. Look at Rashi. Top left. Hira kohen Mashiach ba'atzmo kigon the more betrei isurei. Bezdin paskin and he paskin. Bezdin paskin bechelev, that it's mutter. V'hu ba'avoidus kechavim, and he paskin that avoidus are is mutter. Good. So notice they both blew it. Now, mischapale b'fnei atzmai. Then his kapara, guys, will be through his own. His kapara will not be what through the power that the tzibur is bringing. It's going to be through his own. Then mischapalei. Let's say he paskin chelev, and they paskin chelev. Then he wouldn't have to bring a par. He'd be yoitzu with the power of the tzibur. Shein bezin chayav machiyori levatel mixas l'kaim mixas. Because of this commonality that we spoke out, fellas. If bezin say there's no such thing as a nida, there's no such thing as Shabbos, no such thing as avodah zarah, right? But no mixas, shemeres yom, haitzah. So we brought the shishtachave. V'chein Mashiach, the same with Pai Mashiach. V'loi b'avodas echavim, And indeed, avodah zara at sheyayu levatel mixas l'kain mixas. You won't be chayiv the par v'sei, guys. If it's communal avodah kavim, you bring a par v'sei. That would not be also until you right until that point in time. So now when it says over here, beloy boys kechavim, that's by Besdin, guys. If the Kohen Gadol will pass on avodah zara, he's going to bring a seir. He's going to bring a seira. He's going to bring a seira. But the Besdin is going to bring a par v'sei. Minani mili, how do you know that what? The Kohen Gadol is mischaper b'pashel tzibur. How do you know the Kohen Gadol is going to get his kapara with the power of the tzibur? The Tanur Rabbanan. Hoyre imat tzibur, v'asem imat tzibur. Hoyre imat tzibur, v'asem imat tzibur. Yachol yavi parla atzmai v'dinhu. Okay. Let's say, guys, he passes with the tzibur, v'asem imat tzibur. V'dinhu. Nasi maitzi mechal yachid. A nasi is not like a yachid because he brings a seir and a yachid brings seira. Well, Mashiach maitzi b'chal yachid, and Mashiach brings a par. Man nasi chat b'fnei atzmai maybe b'fnei atzmai chat matzibur mischape matzibur. Af Mashiach chat b'fnei atzmai maybe b'fnei atzmai chat matzibur mischape matzibur. So therefore, through that comparison, he can get a just like the king gets a kapar with the tzibur, so too he does. It says lo yimrab b'minasi shkem eschapa lo yimatzibur b'yom kippurim. Tomim Mashiach shem eschapa lo yimatzibur b'yom kippurim. I'll say different, guys. Of the same mishtaleach, the king gets kapara in the same mishtaleach and the seir that we bring on Yom Kippur. The kohen doesn't. He has a special par. He has a special thing. So maybe, just like over there, he's not part of the tzibur. So to Linyan Helam Davi is not part of the tzibur. Good. Therefore, it says al chatasa shechata. Right. So he can't bring a par for what for himself. Excuse me, for the Bezdin, for the Pesach of Bezdin, because it's the chait that he did. Okay, Tzad. If he passes for himself, then he brings for himself. However, he's chatem the tzibur, he's bringing the tzibur. Hekidami. Ilema dehu mufla. He's outstanding. V'heimena muflayim pshita the b'schapalei b'fnei atzmai. Because the hayrod the lahoin v'leikum. We said if they pass him without the outstanding person in Bezdin, the psak doesn't mean anything. So obviously he's going to bring his own carbon. Uboy asuye kisba isira. They're going to have to bring a kisba isira. Kol chad v'chad, each individual. The either in muflin v'hulav mufla, and if they're the Bezdin's muflin, he's not. Amay mischapalei b'fnei atzmai. Ha'aradi Dave like klumu. As we said, he's shaygig by his pata. Again, we saw it in the Mishnah that the shaygig of the kohen is unique. That he's pata completely. Like anyway, and if there's any mason in there. So I'm a papa. I'm a base. Going shahayu muflayim shnehem. They're both muflayim. They're both outstanding. Right. Okay, so so they're both in the flyim. Therefore, it's possible to go ahead and you would think that he would bring a carbon tzibur would not be included. The tzibur kamashma he's included with the tzibur. So by lemema chat b'fnei atzmai v'asav b'fnei atzmai. Right. And what did he do? What does it mean that the kohen was chayt by himself v'asav b'fnei atzmai? Hechidami the yasvei b'shnei mekaymes v'kamari b'trei yisurei. They're two different places. He's one place. They're another place. And the Moira Hara in two different places. Why would places in two different Isurim? Why would Moira Hara make a difference? So the Bach, the Rabbeinu Chananel guys in Daf Tes, he says that you would think that if they're in the same place and they hear his psak and they're not Moicha, it's like it's like he wasn't chayt himself because they should have said something. And that was the Havamina. The Havamina is if they're in the same place that it's not considered b'fnei atzmai because they should have been Moicha. So therefore, it's two places. Even they're one place. The kivin the kamoira betray surei chayte b'fnei atzmahu. So if they paskin in dam and he paskins in the chaylev, it's two different places. Says the Gemara. Pshita hu b'chaylev v'heima b'yis kechavim. If he gave a hayra b'chaylev and they mated avodah zara, chayte b'fnei atzmahu. Why? Why is considered separate chayte? They both paskin incorrectly. Was who the chalukim b'tamayu? The two different pesukim. One's chaylev, one's avodah zara. The chalukim b'kabanis. One is by avodah zara is pa v'seir, and by chaylev it's and by chaylev it's a par. Davi par vehema par v'seir. And right there, he's a par for chaylev, and they are a par v'seir for avodah zarah. The hakamaisi hanis seir v'hulei maisi. Right, they bring a seir and he doesn't. They're both bringing parim, but he's bringing a seir. They're not. The kol shkein hu b'avodas kechavim v'heim b'chaylev. The chalukim gvar mesayim. If he is b'avodas kechavim, he's going to bring a goat, a female goat, and chaylev they're going to bring a par. So the chalukim gvar mesayim legamri. It's not only a seir. At least the other place he had the commonality of a par, and he had additional seir. Over here, it's two different animals. The seira v'inu par. Elahu b'chaylev hamachases hakerev. He's the chaylev that's covering the kerev. V'heim b'chaylev shel hadakin. So one's on one part of the anatomy, the other one's on the small intestines. So they're both chaylev, but you'd say they're two different psukim. Mahu mi amin and afagav the carbonim shav, and even though both the same carbon, they're both a par. Even the mitrei kroi klasi hapaginim b'tamayu, and therefore what it's not considered b'fnei atzma. It's considered not considered. It's b'fnei atzmai. And therefore it's considered with the tzibor. Imtim tzalem Hashem chaylev echadu is with the tzibor. Hu b'chaylev v'heim b'dam mahu. Mi amina b'tamayu hapagina. There's two separate pasuk. And adilma keeping the shavim b'carbon. They both bring a par basa carbon. As Lino and Teku, we don't know what the answer to that is. Shein bezin chayavim at sheyori levatel mixas ol kayim mixas. Bezin shein bezin chayavim at sheyori levatel mixas ol kayim mixas. Minolon the at sheyori levatel mixas kayim mixas. We had this already, guys. Guys, this is they paskin nida, they paskin Shabbos, they paskin avodah zarah. So they'd be parted from the carbon, right? That's not the case. So how do you know? Because it says. Kilamina bidach pirkin v'nelam davar like guys v'nelam davar. And then we put the end v'nelam, the mem from nelam we put before davar v'nelam mi davar. What does mi davar mean? From part of it, but not all of it. Okay. V'chem Mashiach minalan. How Mashiach is like? How do you know it's like they also hayra? Because we said the chsil lashma sa'am. How Mashiach kitzibur, just like the tzibur is hayra. The ma'isa shaygi b'shaygi. So to the kayan Mashiach. The Tanur Avodah Zarah is different. It has a whole different. It has par v'seir, right? Not just the par. So since you've taken out the par v'seir, yachol chayav malakiris mitzvah kula. So I might think if guys parelim dava. If you go ahead and say there's no such thing as Avodah Zarah, and no such thing as Shabbos, it doesn't work, right? I would say Avodah Zarah is different. You know why? Because for Shabbos, if you mix up Pesach and Shabbos, you're going to bring a par. If you mix up Pesach and Avodah Zarah, you're going to be par v'seir. So I think since it's different than in carbon, who did in the Indian if you oiker the whole thing. So nema kai me'ene, it says by avodah zarah me'ene. V'nema lahala me'ene, it says what by the par helam davar, it says me'ene. Malahalam bebezdin, just like over there by helam davar it's bebezdin. Afkan, so to avodah zarah is bebezdin, not bebezdin. Malahalam by avodah zarah davar like called helam davar. Excuse me. Just like over there by avodah zarah it's bebezdin, so to this is bebezdin, and just like. But over there, it's davav like kolaguf. Just by helam davar, it's partial, not all. Akanami davav like kolaguf. Okay, I was going to go further, but I'm.